everyone. Welcome to Think and Resist, conversations about feminism and peace. This podcast is a series that explores how feminism can redefine security and address some of the most pressing challenges of our time. My name is Allison Pitlack, and I am working in WILPF's disarmament program.
My name is Genevieve, and I work at WILPF's Women, Peace, and Security program.
I'm Zarin. I'm in the Women, Peace, and Security program.
So in this episode today, we're just really here to give you a quick overview of what this podcast series is and what we're hoping to do in it. But we're also going to address the kind of bigger question that is sitting behind the work we do, which is, what does feminism have to do with peace and security?
This show is hosted by the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, also known as WILPF, which is the world's longest-standing women's peace organization. WILPF was founded in 1915 by a group of North American and European women who wanted to bring an end to the violence they witnessed in the First World War. The first resolution that WILPF adopted called for an end to the madness and horror of war. It also warned that the profits accruing from the great armament factories would be a powerful hindrance to the abolition of war. That warning has regrettably been borne out over time. And today, thousands of WILPF members are working for peace across 6 continents to prevent and resolve conflicts through feminist and human rights-based approaches, including disarmament. This show is jointly produced by the Disarmament Program of WILPF and by the Women, Peace and Security, or the WPS program, both of which are based in New York City. Reaching Critical Will works for disarmament and arms control of many different weapons systems, while also calling for the reduction of global military spending and militarism, and advancing understanding about the gendered aspects of the impact of weapons and of disarmament processes. The Women, Peace and Security program works for conflict prevention and the full, equal, and meaningful participation of women in peace and security. The podcast aims to bridge the gap between the two fields of WPS and disarmament, and to bring these two areas of expertise into dialogue with one another. And Genevieve, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I think let's start at the beginning of why are we making this podcast? First off, I think a lot of people don't typically think about peace or disarmament as a traditional feminist issue. We know that feminism as a movement and as a way of thought means many different things to different people, but it's often associated with issues like domestic violence or reproductive rights, pay equity, childcare, which are all really important issues, and they're also issues that we work on in some capacity, but we think that in order to address the realities of our world today, we also have to expand the idea of what is a feminist issue. And so we're making this podcast series to demonstrate why and how feminism is relevant to international peace and security. And specifically, we're going to be doing that by connecting the dots between 2 different policy areas, the Women, Peace and Security agenda and disarmament. These are our 2 main work areas, as Zarin and Allison explained earlier, and we're going to talk more about them in episode 1 and explain sort of what are they, why are they important, why do we work on them, and also how are they connected to each other and how we think they should be connected more together. There are also a lot of reasons why taking feminist approaches is so urgent. Armed conflicts are heavily gendered. They're affecting the lives of billions of people around the world, including hundreds of millions of women, as well as their families and communities. Those same women and other marginalized groups are also systematically excluded from decision-making that affects their futures. And wars also are talked about and justified through narratives that really have a lot to do with gender. We've seen a lot of men are mobilized into fighting through narratives around honor or protection of women or their communities. And wars and invasions are often even justified on the grounds of gender equality or quote unquote women's rights. So all of these, there's a lot to unpack there, but these are some of many, many reasons why we think the connection between feminism and peace is a really urgent one to unpack.
So what can we do about all of this?
One place to start is by redefining security. And we think that one way to do that is through feminism. So there are some traditional notions of security that focus on things such as military strength or power. And we believe that some of these ideas actually end up fueling conflict and tension where they don't need to exist. And feminism can also give us a different perspective to a lot of the issues that are relevant in international peace and security. For example, from a feminist perspective, the arms trade and increasing military spending or increased militarization could be seen not as things that are actually bringing safety or security, but rather as sustaining the same systems of war that are facilitating sexual and gender-based violence, human trafficking, armed conflicts that are devastating communities and people's lives. So we're advocating, I guess, for a shift towards a different way of seeing security. And we also think that feminist analysis can help us answer a lot of questions that we have, and that also policymakers and decision makers have about why is there conflict and violence? Why does it persist? And how can we best end conflicts and violence? And the way that feminist analysis can help us with this is because feminist analysis can help us zero in on power structures, can help us examine who holds power and why, understanding power relationships between individuals and groups of people, and can also help us zero in on collective interests and push us towards more collaborative approaches. And in a time that multilateralism is maybe perhaps more important than ever, we think this is really urgent. You know, the UN was created over 75 years ago to bring peace to our world. And although there has not been another quote unquote world war, we have seen so much conflict and violence during that period that the UN has been around and has been working to try to bring peace. We think that clearly something needs to be done differently. And we really believe that feminist approaches, which, you know, we'll explain through all of our different episodes, which talk about quite a wide range of issues and different challenges that are present in our world. We think that feminist approaches to these can help us do that.
Okay, so now that you've heard about WILPF and why we have made this podcast series, let's talk more about what it includes. In our upcoming episodes, we're going to explore several international security issues from a feminist perspective and in ways that will demonstrate the touch points between disarmament and the WPS agenda. Sometimes we will also hear about the challenges and the gaps. Our guests are practitioners, activists, and subject matter experts. Some come from academia, some work in government, and many are just sharing their lived realities and experiences. In listening to them, we will start to see that the linkages between disarmament and the WPS agenda are not just an abstract connection, but something that is very real. Episode 1 is the foundational episode of our series. It's here that we are going to break down what the WPS agenda is and what disarmament is. We and our guests will explain key terms, but also try to move beyond the jargon to share examples and stories that really help bring these two fields of work to life. Episode 2 is about the international arms trade and why this is an issue for feminists. In episode 3, we will take a closer look at how certain concepts of masculinity perpetuate violence and militarism and how this is being challenged and addressed, including through feminist approaches and disarmament. Episode 4 is about digital insecurity, understanding the gender-related risks and harms in a digital world, including online violence and repression, and how the WPS agenda, human rights frameworks, and disarmament can help to address these challenges. And episode 5 is all about our planet and the current ecological crisis. Our guests will explore the connections between militarism and the environment and why a feminist analysis is crucial to overcoming these challenges. Finally, in episode 6, we are talking about the risks faced by women human rights defenders and why their work is critical to addressing the most pressing issues facing our global and individual communities, including preventing conflict and advancing peace.
So if this podcast got you interested in learning more about WILPF, you can visit our website at wilpf.org. That's WILPF.org. There are WILPF members working in over 40 countries throughout the world. And if you're interested in becoming a member yourself, you can check out our website for more information, and you can see if there's already a section or group in your country or city. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram by searching for @WILPF. Our work is made possible by the generosity of our donors as well as listeners like yourselves. You can donate to WILPF on our website.
Thanks, Genevieve. Allison, I'm so excited to be doing this with you both. We'll be putting out new episodes weekly, and our podcast is available in all places that you can get your podcasts. You can like and subscribe to stay updated for when new episodes are released. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening.